Now, every so often on the channel, we like to take a nice little pit stop and reevaluate the Sorare strategy that we're running for the current season, see if there's any adjustments we need to make, any players we want to ship out or bring in, as well as trying to evaluate the overall landscape of the competitions and where is the easiest route to go, where is the easier opportunities to go from, teams and strategies that aren't quite, doing their bit, that can bridge that gap and actually start bringing in, cash, cards, boxes, rewards, whatever it is that we're playing for at any given time. And in the video today, that's exactly what we'll be doing, because the first section of the season traditionally for FC Barcelona, my Sorare club, is generally the more successful part of the season. I normally start season's really strong when everything's playing, especially between the stuff in MLS, South America, Europe, Asia, whatever. And then typically for me over the last, this is my 5th season playing Sorare, normally once I get to February, March, the wins do become much more sporadic, and generally if I do win in the second half of the season, it is normally a podium or it's been something pretty good, which has been nice, kind of balances out the frequency, that sort of thing. But this is probably the worst start to a season that I've had in terms of the amount of cash, the amount of cards, the amount of whatever. But towards the back end, the last couple of weeks before coming on to do the video with you guys today, I've been quite aware of where I've been missing a trick, or where I've just been where I've had a blind spot essentially. And yeah, we'll be talking about that, as well as plans going forward for the remaining part of the season, because the SO5 landscape has changed quite a lot. We all did a lot of preparation for anyone that was playing the game prior to this season to get our galleries and our clubs in fighting shape, ready for this new setup. And I do feel that I've done that quite well, but there was definitely some blind spots and some strategy stuff that we'll be talking about in the video today. At any point, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section and let me know if you've had any sort of change of direction, any sort of audit, reevaluation on your own strategy, on your own club, and generally what you ended up doing. Always interested to see the comment sections on videos like this, to see what you guys are thinking and feeling and doing as well. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, if you guys are up to date with the content you'd have seen on the last reward opening we had, we actually won the best card that we've won all season long, which is Marvin Wanizek. We got this for finishing 10th in Global All-Star of all competitions, would you believe? And this guy is a top of the food chain, top smasher in the primary region that I play, which is Contender, and an extra guy that can play in midfield that is 100 capable, decisive capable on a regular basis. Is a welcome addition. And it was like a big, winning a guy like this for 10th is great, but it was a big relief more than anything, because I have brought some cards in, we'll talk about that and the strategy behind it in a second, but getting a guy like this come into the club that can make a serious difference to Team 1, and this is something I talk about quite a lot with the FC Barcelona members, the subscribers on the channel that also pay for the channel membership. They get their season ticket for FC Barcelona for the 24-25 season, where we do gallery reviews and lineup building both once a week. There's a Telegram group, I give away all my limiteds to the members, etc, etc. But the way to look at guys coming into especially primary strategies is, do they make Team 1 better? Bringing guys in exclusively to make Team 3 a bit more viable, and I'm generalizing on the standard of players and cards that most people are playing with when it comes to Team 3. It really doesn't have a good value proposition to it at all. Team 2 is maybe something on the fence if it's a younger player and you're maybe waiting for them to improve, or a transfer might be imminent or just happened, a change of manager. I can understand maybe bringing someone in that can make Team 2 a bit better. It's a bit of a hedge on someone that could eventually be someone that could maybe push into that Team 1 category. But getting guys that are bona fide, Team 1 capable, captain capable, I say top of the food chain, they are going to make a significant difference to your strategy, even if it is only one of them. I really do think the value of individual power cards like that is maybe still a little bit overlooked. And one of the arms, one of the legs of my strategy that's been really letting me down, or I don't know if it's been really letting me down, but it's not been as successful as I thought it would have been by this point, is my Champion Rare collection, which I've ordered here by the highest average score, to really illustrate the point that although I've got Wirtz, as you can see here with his scores, overall they're fantastic, although a little bit inconsistent. Josko Guardiola, who I think is probably the best defender in the game right now, again, his scores are really hard to argue with. But beyond that, yeah, Cherki, Kang has had their moments. Really, the goalkeeper hasn't been too bad. But look at the rest of the L5s, the rest of the average scores for everyone else that is populating my best teams and my second best teams. And some of these guys aren't terribly old, so they've not played in too many game weeks for me. But there's just too many fixture-sensitive, situation-sensitive players here, which I don't mind for the most part. I've got 2 pages of these guys going on. But as you can see from the top row there, the best performers, there's not enough of those guys that really do hit into the top 5, the top 10 in the region, in their position for any given game week, which which does make it tough, and it does mean that your selection has to be absolutely spot on, which I don't really mind. And for this strategy in particular, I'm not too bothered about like really pushing the boat out to make a big difference in it. I do think with some players that are injured and maybe been underperforming, and maybe guys that are just breaking into teams and whatever, that quite quickly, I think, especially with some of the goalkeepers that I've now got becoming active with Van de Voort, seemingly going to get at least a couple of games while Galashi's out. Hopefully he can make that spot his own, as well as this Lasseneur that I crafted 20 days ago. We've now got more goalkeeper selections, more ability to be a bit flexible with some of the combinations that we're doubling down on, or staying away from, that sort of thing. And with the ability to play different divisions, because I don't have the creme de la creme, I think that I've kind of got enough here. And that kind of ties into, I think, a part of the realization, a little part of the awakening that I've had in terms of a part of the strategy or part of the current gameplay that I've not been maximising to the best of my ability. And it is like bullying little divisions, going into smaller divisions and just winning them if you've got good enough players and good enough teams. Like, we're still one game left to play in La Liga. It's Athletic Bilbao against Mallorca, I think, or something like that. So these all might change a little bit, but by going into, by really, hedging my bets a bit better in terms of just playing down a level with a slightly stronger team if possible, I think that's probably the best way. A lot of players and a lot of strategies that look like this, where there's lots of good players, lots of guys that are decisive capable, on a good level, in a good collection, etc., that are just more sensitive to they're away from home this weekend. They've not scored in 3 games. They're playing their 4th game in 20 days or whatever it might be. Then you need, so when you've got more of those guys, you really need to have more combinations. And I think then it's about being smart with, is this actually a Division 1 capable team? And I think like for Division 1 is, it's a hard one to not put a team in for. And this is part of the mental kind of struggle or the wrestle you'll have with a strategy like this, because if you don't play the team in D1, you play it in D2 or D3 or something like that just to bully it and win it, then the fear is like, oh, I could have won Division 1 with it or whatever. But I think like there's a time and a place, and I think there's a few decisions around individuals. Like, I'm always looking for decisive capable players. I think it's always been important, and it's never not been important, but like the threshold of success now, like as soon as you've got a guy that finishes the game on 40, you kind of know you're not getting a card, and it's about then, can the rest of the guys carry them into box positions? So having guys that are just number 1 going to get on the score sheet, make an assist, or they're some sort of freak like Josko Guardiola that just eats AA, then yeah, you need to have more combinations on your sides. And I'm quite happy to continue playing the champion region in that kind of strategy, because I'm not going to go out and break the bank to really upgrade to get more Guardiola level players, more Wirtz level players into midfield and forward, and have combinations and options of them to rotate. I'm really happy with the likes of Cherki and Soboslai, Olmo, all the Sociedad players I've got, the Red Bull collection, even Jota now starting to play for Rennes. That could be interesting. So I've got enough. Matt O'Reilly still injured. I've got 2 really high powered cards of him. So I think I've still got enough here. And with 1 or 2 other transfers that I'm still looking to do that would really tie into the collections that I've got built here, and there's not many of them left. I've mentioned them on enough videos. I'm not going to go into it in this one. But we're talking about like 1 or 2 midfielders, 1 or 2 defenders, maybe another forward or so. And I feel that with just being a little bit more switched on and being a little bit more realistic with some of the scoring potential on some teams and some cards, I think I can very quickly start to do a lot better in that region. But the area I've been really laser focused on for the last couple of weeks certainly, has been my contender rares, my Celtic collection essentially, because this is the region that I expect to be completely competitive. This is the region that I expect to have the most Division 1 entries available across all the strategies that I play, as well as the most opportunity, the most likely outcome of getting into the podium positions, of smashing out a big reward. But it's not been plain sailing so far for the Celtic collection. If we look at Celtic so far this year, if you just keep your eyes on the subs or even the starting 11, this is Celtic's entire season on SO5 so far. You'll see that, for the most part, a lot of the team is quite predictable, but a lot of the times in the first couple of games, I've not got a Schmeichel. We did have O'Reilly for 2 games there, but then he leaves and Arne Engels comes in, and you'll see with the rotations and the way the scores go, who actually delivers, who's smashing. It's been really difficult to get a look at that. Bernardo on 100 there. No Hatate from the start. Wasn't 7-1 at Dortmund. I think we can forgive that one. But it's been a really difficult beginning of the season to really lean into Celtic with some of the problems we've had in predicting the starting 11 and some of the ways that the scores have failed. Kasper Schmeichel, but has been very clearly, very evidently a massive upgrade on what we used to have in Joe Hart, SO5 wise. And the defence, if you can pick it, is formidable. For me, the Celtic defence now really, as a stack, as a play, is one of the best in the platform now with Schmeichel there. But there is a few question marks over centre-back pairing and maybe left-back for the foreseeable. But like you can see with the forwards, especially in the midfield, like roulette of who does well, it's really hard to get a full 5 together that would be absolutely smashing it. Which is why the Wanizek as a midfielder is highly valuable to me, to kind of pair in with Shaqiri, who finally got, let's say finally, it's his second good score, but he got a 100. It would have been something mental as well, like, yeah, 130. So thank God that's happening. As well as Rakitic, who's still coming into a bit of form, although a classic card. So we've got some other pieces that can help alleviate. We've got Hausenberg in Germany as well, Lennon Miller, Broholm. We've got a few guys that can help out with carrying the rotation burden and maybe being slightly safer options. But a big part of the bottleneck I've now got with some of these cards coming in, I brought Schmeichel in over a month ago, as well as like at that time, like the Shaqiri, the Bernardo, the Valle. I forget where we were with this strategy last time, but with the new season cards coming out, getting in an Ida, Trusty for only 14 quid, couldn't believe that when I seen it listed, a McCowan for 11 quid, really did set me up to be, right, okay, we can now push Celtic teams out in a lot of different directions with a lot of the right combinations all of a sudden, and the problem becomes the goalkeeper. Now, you guys might remember coming into this season, I took a bit of a hedge, I took a bit of a bet on Jojo Wallacott getting the Hibs #1 job. Sadly, that backfired. So I was back into the market again, having a look at SPFL goalkeepers, and Ellery Balcombe is a guy that I was trying to buy. I was trying to bid pre-season alongside Laidlaw, and he was like more expensive than Laidlaw. He must have been like 100 quid or something. Laidlaw I got here for 80. So seeing Balcombe available for the first one I got for £19 and the second one for 22, I thought was an absolute snip, because that gives me activation in two teams that can play lower divisions at the very, very least. If you look at his SO5 scoring, the outfield I should be able to build around that would, be able to carry a goalkeeper like this. But even if we go beyond the surface level, for me, he's really underperforming. St Mirren are way better than what they're showing so far in this early stages of the season. And when you see the amount of negative decisives that he's caught against Aberdeen, Celtic and Hearts, then you can see that outside of those games, all they're missing really is a clean sheet. There is some good AA here. Even against Rangers, right after I've used one of my Balcombes for this game, and it helped me win a reward. He's picked up 14 all around. He's conceded 2. If they somehow kept a clean sheet in this one, you've got to think that's an 80-point game. So he's capable of those scores. And the problem with Scottish goalkeepers is really just not enough of them are like Big Casper here. His international and the Champions League stuff does kind of hold his scoring, like the visualness of it. It kind of takes it back a bit. But if you see like the beginning of the season here from game week 4, 9 to 8, Schmeichel was a different animal now. And having him in the best team is great. And then having other options like Laidlaw, Balcombe. And I do have other guys outside of Scotland. But it's going to come, once we get to December, I need Scottish goalkeepers. I need guys that have the same fixture list domestically as Celtic. So now with Schmeichel, 2 Balcombes and a Laidlaw, I now have 4 options, even just when it's only the Scottish calendar. If I don't have Urbig, if I don't have Kim Jin-hyun, and then we're going to page 2, look at all the rest of these Celtic cards that you didn't even see on page 1 there. And if we don't have Kositani, then we've got 4 teams worth of goalkeepers that can help us run out. Now, as I said, still a little bit of the game week to run, so I'm not counting my chickens or anything like that. But if we have a look at where we've won cards so far, this game week we're in 3rd in Division 4 in season with, Balcombe against Rangers away, Hatate in mid, Daisen Maeda up front, all did stinking. It was really a 2-man effort of Captain Valley and Austin Trusty on a 100, which is brilliant to see. But really, these 4 lineups could all just be Celtic combinations. I've got enough cards to make that happen now. And, it's good to have those 4 keepers now in place. Obviously, we're looking at a top 11, top kind of 15 spot here in Division 2 in season with that Shaqiri banging off. And Jamie McGrath comes in. He's like the Scottish, I don't want to say he's the Scottish Wanizek because he's not got those numbers. But when I brought him in, he's a guy that can bring in an 80. He can very much do that. If he gets decisives, McGrath goes to the 80 zone quite comfortably. Aberdeen are would be title contenders at this stage. So he felt like a really good card to bring in. Now, a lot of these guys will help me with the in-season competitions, which is primarily to win cash, of course, which I've not had that much exposure to yet. As we're talking about with Balco, how much he used to be versus the now. When the beginning of the season started, I was never going to be able to cobble together a strong Celtic Collection or in-season strategy of any description, really, just due to the prices of it, so it's waiting for prices to come down to a reasonable level and then being able to pick up pieces at the right time. Like Trusty for 14 quid there, like I had no real compulsion to get Trusty. Obviously I wanted them, but there was other players that I see as more stable, as more permanent in the Celtic defence. But then I managed to use him for 2 game weeks. That 93 obviously turns into 100 there. It's helped me win a division, which is fantastic already. And then having enough of those in seasons, like the McGraths and the Valleys and the Edas coming in here, means that rounding out the classic collection, bringing in this classic Alistair Johnson, just becomes way more viable. And this is something I was mentioning, because part of the in-season thing, of course, is winning cash, like I was just kind of mentioning there a moment ago. But a huge part of it that I've kind of undervalued or underestimated is how easy it is to catch boxes in the in-season competition, because the amount of cards I've won or crafted this season, like this is my wins. And I can't remember where we last left off with this in terms of the kind of how we're doing for the season strategy videos, but the last time we won a division was Mark Gooey, which was a bit of a naff tier 3 to pick up, quite frankly. He's long gone from this point, and then we've basically been winning nobodies until the Wanazek. And although we did craft that last Sonur, it took us ages to save up that 100 essence in rare. 100 essence we crafted him at. It took ages to get there, and we were quite lucky that with all the kind of the mongrel essence that we had from all the regions, that we got a champion keeper that plays. I think we got quite lucky with that. So I'm trying to be a bit clever and a bit more clever with how I'm opening boxes and crafting essence, but I do need to get boxes a lot quicker. And I was thinking more of this strategy coming into the season is rapid card acquisition, and I've been more aiming for actual card wins and not really been thinking about box potential. And I think that's really, if you want rapid card acquisition, you really need rapid boxes. It's kind of the way I think you need to think of it. And it's maybe like that kind of blind spot I kind of missed out before, because this Division 2 is picking up a 4-star box in the right region for me in my main strategy, and I'm getting a 2-star box there as well. So with some of the boxes I didn't open last week, I've still got some of them sitting there in the factory. These boxes are from Contender as well. I've got a 2-star in season and a 3-star in season. Then I'm quite hopeful over the last week with some of these reinforcements coming in that I might have more essence in the factory over the last 10 days than I have the previous, like, I don't know if it's 100, so I don't think the season's that long yet, but we're in a game week, 22 now or whatever, so for the last, like, 18 game weeks prior to it. So I think it's a good move that we've made. I did bring in this Unai Marrero for some of the guys that we'd won, and I actually really regretted this quite quickly. We tried to do it to get advantage into some midweek under 23 action, and he was scoring really well until he lost his clean sheet, sadly. But we gave up some really nice cards that weren't worth much, but they were nice cards, Stojkovic, Tresoldi, Ogawara, to make this happen. And hey, we've got an Unai Marrero now. It is what it is. I'd rather have those guys, and I do kind of regret that. It's a mistake I've not made in a good while. Now, I'll be live on Tuesday night to open up the rewards that we do collect from this game week. The Yusuf Maziz card, we gave this away recently, but it's went unclaimed. So this is going to be a rollover giveaway card. So if you join me live on Tuesday night, we'll be giving away this rare Yusuf Maziz. If we do we're at 15 limited essence at the moment. And are we winning? We've got Rivals boxes here that should have some essence in it. And we're still waiting on some MLS games to go. We might get some limited essence this game week as well. Any limiteds that we win or craft, we give away to the FC Barcelona members, of course. So make sure to join me for Tuesday night. And it's going to set up a really big midweek that really does kind of put into focus, I suppose. And it's quite accidental, because I've not really been forward planning on fixtures as much as everyone else has, certainly, or as much as I normally do for this kind of thing. It's more of a happy accident on me seeing the success of like Harry Trades and a few other friends of the channel, friends of the community, in terms of how many cards they craft, some of the wins that they've been picking up, and me seeing what is different. And it's been a little bit of that in-season angle, as well as some of the box capture stuff that we spoke about already in the video. And there's a bit of an all-star team we can throw out. It's a bit of whatever, but really it's a full SPFL midweek, so I've got full opportunity to really lay out what I was thinking, or what I've been trying to double down on, maximize, whatever you want to think of it as, in the video today, with this kind of core part of my strategy that is supposed to be the hyper competitive part of FC Barcelona. Now, we still have Sherdan Shaqiri in here available for minutes because Switzerland also play, but if we were to Have a look at Shaqiri. I've not used McGregor's. I've not used a Lennon Miller, which I might change actually. And we could use Quan, you know. So there is some other pieces here that are in the division and would buff this out pretty well for me. A lot of double defence, a different striker in every team. It's kind of where I'm at the moment. The game aside, like, it's kind of hard to just pick the squad right now. But with the amount of forwards I've not got available here, like, I can easily fill out these teams. And when other goalkeepers are available in the region, I can certainly fill out 3. And classic, A-OK, no problem at all. And I probably could do 3 in season, but I would need to be very particular with my player selection, etc. And this is the sort of stage that this like main competitive part of my strategy, of any strategy, needs to get to, is right about there now. And as I say, the main thing that's kind of held me back is I thought I would be a little bit more successful to this point than what I had already, and I've been waiting for those early season prices to normalise or, you know, really drop off a cliff, as it were, become much more affordable to get some of the core strategy pieces that I need, as well as some differentials, and then just goalkeepers. You know, Balcombs for 20 quid, that opens up a whole entire team. And Scotland in general, if I'm thinking about specifically in this region, specifically when it is only Scotland as well, for when that time comes, like, the goalkeeper scores don't hold you back as much as I think they do in some other places, because goalkeepers in Scotland generally don't score that well unless they play for one of the big 3 teams that are currently running at the top of the division at the moment. And I'm getting to this really nice sweet spot at the moment where, although MLS is about to go, if I have a dive forward into the weekend and just really flesh out what I've got here, because Van de Voort, like I mentioned before, is coming into a game, and with all these extra contender goalkeepers I've now got, like, I could get a Bundesliga team out. I've got a lot more lineups. There's 16 sitting here at the moment, and I'm not sure if I've totally maxed out the goalkeepers as of yet. I think I might have, no, Celtic don't play this weekend, in fact. It's a cup weekend for us, so there's only one contender team, which I've got way more goalkeepers for, in fact. So I might have some under 23s that I can play. Look at that. And I've still got a spare goalkeeper now. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a great place to be in now, where I feel that I've got enough goalkeepers finally, with some of them coming online, like we mentioned there, and getting another one in there in the last hour. All of a sudden, across all sorts of regions, the only thing I probably don't have is a rare challenger goalkeeper. And, you know, I could maybe get one out of the collections here, like a Barkas or a Connor Hazard, who I don't think's actually playing right now. But yeah, I've not got a mad motivation to go and do that. And I think those two, and I've not even mentioned Super Rare, because Super Rare's actually been a bit of a bugbear, as it were. It's been actually not really too fruitful so far this year, as you've seen with the Mark Gui. I've only got like 20 odd essence. It's been a real struggle. If we look at highest average score here, you can see like Cunha's been great, Angelino's been fine, Gutierrez has been good enough, Breza's just came back from an injury, but then after that, everyone else is so spotty. Everyone is really hit or miss, and I've not managed to use half of them as much as I would have liked in terms of their availability, maybe a wee bit of fixture correlation. Some of the teams are just doing really bad right now that I've got a big presence in terms of like 3 or 4 players, or maybe like Girona, the entire fucking club. But it's my midfield that has really hurt me. I just got this a Sabitzer not too long ago. Jordan hasn't really played too much, but Koopmeiners injured, Saul injured, Kamada flopping in the Premier League big time, Aliesh benched. Martin has just got an injury. Let's see how long he's out for. Romeo hasn't kicked a ball. Rainier isn't in the region, so let's filter that. Goretzka bombed, Llorente injured, Yangel hot and cold, Rocca injured, Riquelme in and out, McGinn injured and just returned, Braze injured and just returned. Like, the whole midfield has been a void chasm of quality. It's been really difficult. Up front, you know, I've had some goals, I've had some easy enough picks for the amount of goalkeepers I've got. I've only got 4, so Saganikov is injured at the moment, but otherwise was kind of okay. Cunha's been great. Castellanos has been fine, but then everyone else has just been a mad question mark. And defender 3 and 4 has been a real headache for me. Angelino has been, and Gutierrez have been first name picks, no problem, easy peasy, but everyone else has been a right pain in the ass or not delivering. So I find it hard to judge how strong, how successful like the roster I've got here is or could be, because I've actually had so many mitigating factors that really stop me from having a good idea of really where the strategy is or how good the build I've got is. Is there any missing pieces? Is it too far away? Is it quite close to being like fully operational or whatever. So I'm still quite jury's out on where I'm at with that. But if I do see the opportunity to get, like, Sabitzer traded in some trash and managed to get him, and that's a card I've wanted for a long time. So if I see options like this, I'm kind of open to it. But the full focus is rare, and probably the last thing I'll say on the kind of developments we've had on the strategy, thinking about that in-season angle as well, is I don't plan on buying any other in-season cards for Champion. And generally, like, the idea is to win them and sell them for the most part, which just hasn't really been happening too much. But with this Lassaneur coming in, if Oscarsson, Adam Barrow's been brilliant, by the way, great pickup. Really glad I got him in. And, you know, the only reason I got him in is because he didn't have a Sociedad card last season in the collection. I've got to 4%. And that's a big thing that I didn't really touch on with the Celtic thing that I did mean to. But when you are going for a club over a full stack and you want to try and play them over as many lineups as possible, if you don't have the full roster over last season into this season, getting the pieces. My New York collection has been a really good example of this in the past, but you just fill out the missing pieces of the squad. Make sure to get first owner bonus on them, rookies if possible, and just try and get as high as an XP as possible, so that you can play those players together and it's still a fun collection. And Adam Barrow was one of the main guys I was definitely going to get in this collection, no two ways about it. But with Oscarsson looking good, he's not totally nailed in a spot, but I think he will. Sucic has looked good, and Sergio Gomez and Aguerd, by the way, has been looking really good. But if I do get those other, like, how many guys did I mention there? Sucic, Aguerd, and Sergio Gomez, who've all kind of spiked in price, it must be said. If I get those other three guys in, then I can run an in-season lineup with Sociedad, which is fine. And it's what we did last year, in fact, with the Taki Kubo and a few other guys that we picked up last season. So again, a little bit of rinse and repeat in terms of the FC Barcelona way. I don't think I'll go into Sociedad for another year, but I just think some of the talent that they've got in that second season was definitely worth dovetailing. And Celtic is a much more extreme example of this, of course. And with me now having an extra Alistair Johnson and I've got 2 Cameron Carter-Vickers, I think, like, when you are having a club that goes across 3 lineups, or like I'm trying to get to eventually like 6 or something, you need, ideally, like, you want 3 copies of everyone, I would say, or 6 potentially, but that's not entirely possible. But I think at this kind of stage, like, you need to have a minimum of 2, you know, so that you can put into really as many powerful teams as possible. The nailed on picks, the guys that are going to smash and make something happen. And really, there's not many people in the Celtic collection that I'm really that high on getting anytime soon, which is a good spot to be in. I do need an Liam Scales, but we maybe go classic with that, just with the price difference. And I really need an Arnott Engels. That's unavoidable at this stage, I suppose. But this collection is going to tick to 4%, no problem. And just like last season, it's not going to get to 5%. So that means I'll have 2 5% and 2 4%, which is something that I need to be mindful of versus other Celtic collectors. You know, this one here at 540, it's just not going to be possible. I'm not going to go and fill this squad out. Maybe I do think about that, but for this season, potentially, maybe that is something to consider, because there is still a lot of missing pieces here. There is a lot of special editions going around for this season because of the early access stuff. That's just maybe a wee side tangent that I just think about for later. But yeah, I'm kind of using game week 21 as like a line in the sand, as a marker for FC Barcelona to say, you know, playtime is over. You know, we've kind of got to grips with the new division makeup, multi-entry, stacking, anti-stacking, going after specials as well whenever they come up. And I feel that I've bounced off the ropes enough times. We've taken enough blows to the body where, you know, we know how to defend ourselves better. We know how to go out and attack and try and take down the leaderboards a little bit better than maybe we did a couple of game weeks ago or so. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section down below. On screen and now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.